So now let's do what we said earlier and make a copy of this each time we add a list and modify that copy instead of creating one from scratch. So first of all, I think I'm going to give this li an additional class of template to make it clear that this one's the one we're copying. We're not going to, so we don't accidentally grab one of the others off the page or something. And we'll follow our trend. We'll tell init what the selector is from the outside. So here we can say template selector. And I'm going to look for something that has both the class flick and the class template. So .flick.template like that would require that both classes be on the same element in order to be found, just in case I make templates for other things at some point. That reads nicely. And then once again, up in init, I'm just going to store that as another property of the app object. So this .template equals document .query selector selectors dot template selector, right? Isn't that what I said? Template selector. Yeah. Let's see if that much works. Let's see if I can say, see if my mouse will start working again. Console app.template. Yep, there it is. So now I want to make a copy of it instead of building one from scratch. So where are we building it from scratch? Inside render list item right here. So instead of const item equals document create element li, let's grab that template, which is this .template. And then it turns out there's a really easy way to make a copy of an element. cloneNode. So let's try that out. app.template.cloneNode. Okay, here's another li. Looks just like it, except, look, it's empty. Let's try this out. Refresh. Yeah, the buttons go away. What gives? Looks like cloneNode takes an argument, deep. That's a Boolean, true or false. Whether you want to make a deep copy of this thing, in other words, whether you want to include its contents in the copy. And it's false by default. So we'll say true. We want to make a deep copy of this thing. So this .template not this, right? app.template.cloneNode. True. Now we still have the buttons. Cool. So refresh, and it should totally work. What? I still have no buttons. Betrayed again. Who knows why? Where'd the buttons go? I made a deep copy, gosh dang it. Somewhere in render list item, I'm blowing all the buttons away. What happens when you set the text content on something that already has some HTML in it? All that HTML takes a hike. So we blew it all away right here. But we don't want to replace the whole text content of that thing anyway, right? We just wanted to get that span. Remember we have that span inside the template called flick name. This is where it goes. We can get rid of Jupiter Ascending here. That was just while we were styling it. So we want to target this. Now if we just grab any old element with a class of flick name, well, let's try. Let's just try that and see what happens. Let's say document, don't do this, because this is not how we're going to do it. Document.querySelector. Just look for something with the class of flick name. Set the text content to that. What on earth? Let's see. It's always putting at the second one from the top. The first one it finds before it makes our copy. This is not what we want. We don't want to search the whole document for something with that class. We just want to look inside this item, right? The item that we just created. Turns out you can use query selector on another element, just like you can use it on document, and then it'll look only inside that element. So if I say item.querySelector.flickName, it'll get the flick name span inside this item. So that's more like what we want. Try that out. Step up. That Steven Soderbergh movie. Berg. I don't know how to spell Soderbergh. That Stephen S. movie last year that had Adam Driver in it too. It was pretty good. But no one saw it. Logan Lucky. It's pretty good. So now it's working, right? Okay. Once again, I'm kind of chaining things together here on one big line. It's a little hard to read, so I'm going to do it this way. Now the empty one is still showing up, right? That's no good. So it has a class of template. So how about we just make a CSS rule that anything with a class of template doesn't show up. Index.css, target anything with a class of template. And we've used the display property before, display block, display inline, display flex, display none. It'll still be in the DOM, but it will not take up any space and will not be visible. If you know visibility hidden, by the way, the difference between visibility hidden and display none, anybody know? Yeah.
Visibility hidden is still technically on the page, right?
They're both technically on the page, but with visibility hidden, it still leaves room for it. It's still taking up space. You just can't see it. With display none, everything else just acts like it isn't there. But we can still use document.querySelector and grab it. So let's see. Yep, it's not there. Add some movies. Logan Lucky. Oh, what happened? It's there. But it has a class of template too, doesn't it? Because we just made a copy. So we need to make sure we remove that class from the copies. So we'll just do that first thing when we make the clone. This used to be kind of a pain. You could get the list of classes as a string and then just kind of search there for the one you're looking at and change the string. Thankfully, you don't have to do it that way anymore. I'll show you. Really cool feature of the dev tools in Chrome, by the way. Select an element here and notice this little $0. Use $0 in the console to refer to this element. So whatever element you have selected in the inspector, if you go to the console, $0 will be that element. Super handy for troubleshooting. So I could say $0 dot class name is what you had to use before, and that just gave you the string. But now there's class list. And it's an array-like thing called a DOM token list. And it has methods like add and remove. So if we say remove template, that one shows up now. So .classList.remove, and then the class that you want to remove. So right after we clone the item, we'll say item.classList.remove template. Let's try it again. 21 Jump Street. That one in Ireland where he's like a veteran, I think. Yeah, totally works. Cool. Ship it. Clone the template when adding a flick.